Hello, every. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of my globe stories with ReasnoableRaptor. Um, One of my favorite flat earthers, or well, one of the flat earthers that I'm communicating with for a couple of weeks now, has responded to me, which is cool, and I'm gonna take a little different approach this time, and want to take to heart what FE Flat Earth peer review made me think about with one of his latest videos, where he talked about how we as the globe Earth and fact-based community shall confer or deal with flat earthers. And so I want to take a little different approach and start off with the basic problem of communication I have with this flat earth in general, because that's the one I'm currently debating or communicating with, but with all flat earthers in general. And the first problem is lack of understanding. So to make this concrete, it's really taking me, or it's costing a lot of effort to really go down to the level of stupidity and not understanding things that flat earthers usually have and come up with. And it's really a big effort. So it took me a long time, actually, right before I made this video, to understand what his problem is. So the problem of this flat earther, he's taken pictures of Lake Constance. If you've watched my previous videos, you will see I am only discussing his videos. And he's taking pictures of over the water from a low height with his camera, and sometimes he sees inferior mirages, so reflections. And he's thinking, and that's the thing that took me long to wrap my head around. He's thinking that you can see, you do not see a curvature of the earth, you do not see a horizon, basically, that this is not an horizon, this is just the water continuing, and this mirroring effect is actually mirroring in the water. Like when you look across a lake, a smaller lake, which is basically a flat surface, and you have stuff reflecting off of it. So he thinks that this is one continuous water line, flat water surface, and this here is basically the horizon. Or I don't know what he's thinking, but the only way to make sense is that he's thinking that this is the horizon line, and that's the reflection off of water, which we know it isn't. It's not mirroring in the water like on a small lake or in any small surface, like an actual mirror. This is an inferior mirage that is happening in the air, because the light is traveling through the air and gets bent by the air. A superior mirage would be called a fata morgana, and we also know that exists. Also, he kind of has problems with his leveling of his camera, but yeah, whatever. So again, to make this really clear, and also to help other people who stumble across my channel, if you have problems debating flat earthers and arguing with them or coming up with ways of explanation, maybe this helps. So this schematic shows what's actually happening in an inferior mirage. So we have light that comes off of an object, like this light ray, for example, that comes off of the top of that. That's actually a ferry, that's a ship, and it travels into our eye or the camera or whatever. And there's other light rays that we would normally not see, but they get reflected by the water surface and then travel into our eye or our camera. And this is this right here. This is that image, but it's still traveling. It's light traveling through the air, and it gets reflected not by the water, but actually by hot or the temperature gradient in the atmosphere. That's actually right above the water, so we are talking a couple of dozen centimeters or meters. So yeah, so that's the mirror image that's basically in the air. And this is the actual horizon. The actual horizon never changes. If any flat earther talks about the geometric horizon, he means the horizon. The flat earthers cannot wrap their head around that light does some weird stuff independent of the actual horizon. And so the thing is that we see the horizon, which is usually a couple of kilometers, maybe 2-3 kilometers out, and the rest of the water surface up to the object. So this object is maybe 11 kilometers out. The horizon is at 3 kilometers, and then there is we don't see the other 8 kilometers up to the object. We don't, because they're curved away. We cannot see them. We cannot see that distance. We can see the object because it's floating above the water and the light gets bent in the way that I try to explain. Yeah, so that's the basic issue. It's not understanding basic optics, basic 6th or 7th grade physics class. So that's a screenshot off of his video. So again, paraphrasing his problem that I really had to wrap my head around. I really had to go down to that level of stupid. So he's saying that what he's filming, what he's zooming into, the waterfront, that's 2.8 kilometers, which is true. That's the water level at 2.8 kilometers. That's the horizon. And then he's saying, well, that teeny tiny little speck, that's 16.5 kilometers, which is not. It's just a mirror image that's, shall we say, hovering in the air. It doesn't correlate. It doesn't have anything to do with it doesn't correlate with the distance. So that's what he's not understanding. That's what his mind cannot grasp. But that's the fact. Because if we were to live on a flat earth, things would look totally differently. And if you press any flat earther on that, if you ask them, well, what would the world actually look like if we were living on a flat earth? We couldn't see a horizon, because there wouldn't be a horizon, because we wouldn't have a curve. They will never, or at least I haven't gotten my flat earther to actually answer that question, but they will go out of their way to not answer that question. So that's really interesting in and of itself. Anyway, so now they have a lack of understanding. They don't know how stuff works. And then they draw the wrong conclusions from that. So they make an observation. They see a ship which under normal circumstances should not be seen as much of as there is in this video. So again, this is a screenshot off of that one flat earther video. He's again photographing that ferry ship. You can see distortions all over the place due to heat differences. And he's drawing arbitrary lines because that's what they do. So he's drawing that blue line there. That's his 5 meter mark, because he's using a basic earth curve calculator, and that churns out the number 5 meters. So if you look across a water surface over 11 kilometers, there should be a 5 meter drop. So he just draws that 5 meter line more or less in correlation with the height of that ship. That's more or less okay. That's about 5 meters on that second deck there. That's the windows of the ship. Second deck windows, third deck windows, and that's the top where the captain sits. But we'll get to the problems there in a second. And then he makes up then flat earthers make up arbitrary numbers. They just talk about 20% refraction. They don't explain where they come up with the 20%, what 20% of what. They never explain that. They just make up another line that's more or less a quarter there, so more or less 20%. And then they say, well, for the most part, that is not accounted for, so refraction cannot be the answer, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So it doesn't make sense to them. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm a flat earther. It doesn't make sense to me. Therefore, it cannot exist. There must be super refraction, he calls it. But if you look into it, if you look into the actual image and you actually make measurements, which you can do. I mean, I have this image to work with. That's all I have. I haven't gotten, another good point. I haven't gotten any information on the camera from him. What focal length he's working with? Nothing. So, but we can still work with that. So let's take an image of the actual ferry, what it looks like, undistorted. And let's take this upper deck as our baseline. So the total ship height is 11.3 meters. Half is about 5.7 meters. So we take this deck as our baseline. And whoopsie-doo, what do we see here? When we look to the next deck, when we take the windows of the next lower deck, and we try to correlate that with our image filmed across 11 kilometers roughly, we see that doesn't correlate. We would have to lower that line down to here roughly, because the image of that ship is being distorted, and it's being distorted more the closer we get to the horizon. So if we take the next level, if we take the next window line and try to correlate that with the actual image, the lower deck windows are actually down here. And again, the rim of the edge of the hull, the black part, is much lower in the actual image. So if we compare the arrows that I've drawn, roughly, I admit, but you can still see an increase in the length of the arrow. So we see an increase in the deformation, shall we say, of the image. So that's the increase in refraction index. That's a thing. People have been knowing about this for centuries. There have been drawings from the 15th or 16th century. If you look it up online, there have been drawings of that stuff for hundreds of years, because people have been going to sea for centuries. They know about this stuff, and yeah, it's just known how this stuff works. He is not the first, because he has a camera with 200x zoom or whatever. He is not the first to actually notice this stuff. This has been known for centuries. So again, getting back to the point, increasing refraction index. So the image gets stretched. And because it's been known for years, there has been modeling. And this is the genius Walter Bislin site where he's not only providing us with a free Earth curve calculator, but also with a refraction calculator, which is really awesome. And you can actually punch in the numbers and you can see the exact same thing. So the image gets stretched here the closer we get to the horizon. Without refraction, so if we would have standard refraction across a lake, no temperature differences in the water, in the air above it, this is what the ship would look like. Again, this is what it looks like in the model and also in the actual image that we just looked at. So this all checks out. This works. We have a working model with it, with our globe model. This stuff is not breaking the globe at all. Yeah, so then we get to the next part of the discussion. So when you really try to answer a flat earther truthfully and show them the facts, most of the time, and again, I'm currently at that point of the discussion with my flat earther where he just does the same thing. They just ignore stuff because it doesn't fit their wrong conclusions. So as an example, I haven't yet pressed him on this. I haven't yet formulated this in a video, but if you look at the image, if you really carefully look at what you're actually filming, you see that stuff doesn't check out when you presuppose a flat earth. Why is the hull in the photo hidden or much lower over the horizon than it would be if we were looking at it on a flat surface? If we were looking at the ship from over a flat surface, nothing would be hidden off the ship. We wouldn't even see a horizon. Yeah, so that's that. They just ignore that. I've asked this guy to actually show me what we would see if we were living on a flat Earth. He has not yet answered me, because they just don't know what perspective is. That's what it boils down to. So that's a screenshot of my last video trying to explain to him how perspective works. Yeah, I'm yet waiting for an answer from him to this day. Yeah, so they're ignoring stuff, but they're also creative. So they make shit up on their own to fit their own conclusions. So another example that I really had to get my head around, I really had to go to get down to this level of stupid again. This flat earther, I don't know if others do this as well, but this one tries to fix what he sees, what he observes, and tries to talk it away with haziness is what he's called, or color differences, or whatever he's calling it. I don't know. It's just word salad. But what you see when you photograph over a large forest, for example, where there's a lot of humidity, you can see that objects that are more distant become hazier. Okay. So he's supposing that we should see this over when photographing over a lake too. Yeah. So then what? What does that show? So if we don't see the amount of haziness that you would expect, or if the colors don't change as you would expect when photographing other stuff in a forest or over a bunch of trees, then what? Well, what does that show? I don't get it. He tries to show that this somehow fixes the problem of the horizon and fixes the problem of the mirroring, but it doesn't. It doesn't explain anything. This church tower is still 15 kilometers away. This horizon line is still 3 kilometers away. And if you look carefully, even in the crappy video quality that he's providing, I can see more haziness back here. So yeah, what does that prove? That's just, again, they're making stuff up. They're throwing smoke grenades. They just want to open another can of worms to not have to explain the other issues that you have or that you want to address. And this is just, yeah, this is just awesome. So again, this is a screenshot from this flat earther's video, again going back to the beginning where he doesn't understand how the horizon line works. So he thinks that the water edge here is the actual edge of the lake. So this water line here is the coastline of the other side of the lake. But when he's zooming in, I'm switching back to the previous slide. He's zooming in. This is the exact same lake. He's zooming in. He's seeing waves. He can make out the waves. And then there's actually the curve. That's the thing that he cannot get his head around. Then there's the curve, and then way the hell back there is the church tower. If you would compare, I haven't done this. This is just coming to my mind while I'm talking right here. If you would actually compare the height of that wave with the church tower, that wave would be, I don't know, 2 or 3 meters high. How the fuck should that happen? That just doesn't make sense. So this wave is not actually at the coastline, at the shore way the hell back there. It's way the hell in front. It's at 2.8 kilometers. And that mirroring that we see, again, this is mirroring happening in the air. This is not 16-kilometer water that is just mirroring perfectly. This is light being reflected by the air, through the air above the water. So yeah, so to make their fucked up worldview work, they have to come up with just abnormal. I'm really searching for words with really weird and messed up theories. So to make his model work, he supposes that this line is actually the geometric horizon, as he's calling it, at 2.8 kilometers distance. And just anyone can see. I mean, I don't know anything about the focal length that he's using in this camera, but I guess he's a pretty wide angle. This is not 2.8 kilometers away. No fucking way. This wave is maybe 5 meters away, and these waves are maybe, I don't know, 40, 50 meters away, but not 2.8 kilometers. This line is 2.8 kilometers away. That's it. So again, this is just mind-bogglingly stupid. They're just making up stuff. They're just drawing arbitrary lines anywhere. They don't explain how they come up with that, how it's supposed to work. Nothing. It's just making stuff up, and then it's my responsibility to actually explain that shit. And I'm making this abundantly clear also to the flat earther or any other flat earther that's listening to this. It's not our job to explain the shit that you don't understand. It's not. You are making the bold claim that you have made an observation that nobody in hundreds of years has made. You are claiming you have the proof for a flat earth. And then I, or we as a globe earth community, we have to explain that shit for you. That's not how it works. If you're claiming that you have the golden egg or whatever, or the black swan or whatever, and you have proof, then you have to prove it, not me. I don't have to prove any of your freaking smoke grenades that you throw out there. And I bet there will be new ways that he's gonna wiggle around not explaining stuff. I'm pretty certain at this point. I'm not gonna convert this one guy or girl or whatever. But yeah, that's that. So many problems discussing with these types of people. And my approach actually is, and I'm posting this right now, and I really wish feedback from anybody also having similar experiences. I would really love to know what your approaches are. But mine is right now baby steps. I'm currently trying to make this flat earther that I'm currently debating with confirm to me that he understands basic perspective. That's my starting point. So if we get to that level where we both agree that that's our line of flight, or whatever you call it in English, and things optically shrink towards that line, but they're all actually the same height in reality. If we can both concur on that, then we can go from there. If I have him or her confirm that, then we can take it a step further, and then we can discuss curvature or things hidden beyond an horizon. But I think it's not worthwhile getting trapped in teeny tiny discussions about refraction or color changes or haziness or what the fuck ever. It doesn't work. You just get pulled into their world, and I, for one, I don't want that. I don't want to get dragged down into their method of thinking or method of discussing. I want to press them on basic things and work from there. Again, if you have other experiences, if you have other ideas, I would really love to hear your feedback. And so long. I hope you enjoyed this video a little bit. I hope you took a little bit from it. I really hope that flat earthers watching this video will actually think about that. I try to put everything below in the description, any links, any materials that I've used will be down in the description. And so that's it for today. Take care. Bye bye.